party. And good evening, I'm Jean Casares in for Ashley Banfield tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Primetime Justice. We are following breaking news tonight out of Indiana. Someone has murdered two girls, one just 13 years old, the other 14. And in their search for information, they are trying to locate anyone who was in the wooded area at the time, including a male subject seen on these photographs. They were just released minutes ago by the Indiana State Police. They say they would like to ask this person what he might have seen. Now, the girls were reported missing, and two bodies found yesterday in the hilly and remote outside of town. After an intense search, today they were identified.
The bodies have been positively identified as Abigail J. Williams, 13, of the Delphi area, and Liberty Rose Lynn German, 14, of the Delphi area. The two girls were reported missing on Monday, February 13th. The bodies were discovered about 12:15 on the 14th in the woods just east of town here. This is considered a double homicide investigation.
And police are also examining this Snapchat photo of Abigail Williams. It was taken by Liberty German, her girlfriend, just before both girls disappeared about 60 miles northwest of Indianapolis. It is believed they were hiking in the area, and this is the photo, the last known trace of them alive before the mysterious killings. And with me tonight, former prosecutor Christine Grillo and defense attorney Robert Schock. But first, I want to go to Lindsay Eaton. She is a reporter with Fox 59 in Indianapolis. Lindsay, we do want to let's show this picture again, because we just got this about 30 seconds before going on air, released by the Illinois State Police. They are saying that, and this is the Snapchat photo, actually, the last known picture of the girls. But this right here, law enforcement is calling a person walking on the trail, and it was on Monday, February 13th, when these girls went missing. This was the day, there was no school that day, they were out and they were hiking, dropped off by a family member to hike, and that person was also seen on the trail. Lindsay, I do want to go to you. You're a reporter. You've been covering this case, Fox 59 out of Indianapolis. Just start from the beginning, because it was Monday. What is the area like where they were dropped off, the community?
Yeah, they were dropped off Monday by a family member. They had a plan. They were supposed to meet that family member. A few hours later, they had a time. They had a location where they were supposed to meet, and those girls never showed up, and that family member immediately alerted authorities, and the search efforts were underway. And when we say search efforts, we mean hundreds of people were out in that wooded area looking for these girls, scouring the area for any clues. Social media took off. Pictures of these girls were circulating social media. Anyone who knew anything, they were just begging them to come forward, to call police. And I think everyone went to sleep Monday night, keeping their fingers crossed that there was maybe some kind of miscommunication, or the girls were going to be hanging out somewhere else. And unfortunately, obviously, we know that wasn't the case.
And this is a very safe area. In fact, they have never had a double homicide, and they hadn't had a homicide in the community in years. And Lindsay, just confirm with me, the autopsies were performed today. Do we have a cause of death at this hour?
No, we know the autopsy was performed this morning, and the only details we officially got from that autopsy was confirmation of the two girls' names, which a lot of people, including the family members, had already made that connection. So that was really the only thing that came from that autopsy findings, and also that officials have ruled this now a double homicide.
Christine Grillo, there was a press conference today, and this is a small community. They're not used to this. They have called in the FBI to help with the recovery. They are still processing the crime scene as we speak tonight. They haven't said if they've recovered the cell phones. How important is that?
I think the cell phones are going to be very important. As you see, the Snapchat photo that you put up there is a very telling photo. It gives probably the last person perhaps that saw them alive. The cell phones are going to give a lot of information. They're also not releasing certain information, and they're probably taking this investigation very slowly and very carefully. They're not releasing how the girls died, perhaps because they want to investigate further before saying something, before tipping someone off. So the cell phones are going to be very, very important. The information and the communication that might have been picked up on those cell phones right before their death.
So, Robert Chalk, the last known whereabouts come from this Snapchat photo that one of the girls took of the other.
Right.
It was at 2:07. They were dropped off at 1 o'clock by a family member. 2:07, they're walking along the trail, and what I've been told is this trail used to be where trains were, and so there's a lot of railroad tracks that you're walking on. But that last photo and the timestamp on it, what can that be used by law enforcement for?
Right, you got a digital footprint. We know from the eyewitness who dropped them off what time they were left there. You have the Snapchat photo indicating 2:07, and as Christine said, if the phones can be recovered, those are going to be critical pieces of information. But even if the phones aren't recovered, they'll be able to see if there's cell site data that is be able to be recovered by their phone records. Were they pinging off a certain tower at a certain time? Were they texting? Were they making phone calls? I think also it is important to think of, they're not announcing the cause of death. We don't know what happened. Has DNA been left behind? If there was blood, is there going to be any footprints? They got to make sure that they get leaves in surrounding areas, and which is why the FBI is there. They're much more experienced in a small town police department in recovering forensics, because forensics is going to be the key that puts this all together.
You know, Lindsay, at the press conference today, the law enforcement talked about that they did not believe there was a threat to the community. But the fact is, Lindsay, there's a killer on the loose. I mean, somebody murdered these two girls 48 hours ago. And so there is a killer on the loose. Did anybody question law enforcement when they made that statement that obviously has no merit?
Absolutely. I think, and they kind of said, yeah, parents, be on alert. Yeah, keep your eyes on your kids. And that message is really felt. Even you can talk to anyone in this community. We were out here last night and out here again today. You talk to anyone in this community, and they're scared. Very simply put, they are scared. They want answers. They want to know who did this, and they want that person off the streets.
No question. I do want, Christine, when you look at the crime scene and they are continuing to process and the amount of evidence, here's the cold, hard fact. One of those two young girls most likely witnessed the murder
of the second
of her friend.
Yes. You hope they're going to be able to find out a lot of information, and you hope that there's going to be discretion attached to all of this, that if that information is not going to lead them to a conviction of the murderer of these two girls, that is something that maybe they won't share, and it won't be they won't say that it's clearly determined, because that is a horrible thought. It really is. And they should be afraid. You're right, there is a killer on the loose. These are two young girls doing something that young girls do, and somebody found them and killed them.
And Robert Chalk, the reason they weren't in school on Monday, it was a snow day, because they allot for these days in the Midwest, so you don't go to school. If there's snow, you stay home. So they extend the school calendar. And that's why they didn't have school on that day. But when we look at this, and let's look at this picture again that was just released of someone they say was walking along the trail, the Delphi Trail. This is the Monenhigh Bridge, possibly, was a known place. First of all, I am shocked that there was a camera.
Yeah, I want to know
where
that picture came from. And the thing about it that we're talking about, Eugene, is this is broad daylight. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's a small town and a small community. And the benefits of living in the small town with a small community is someone there has to know who that person is.
Yeah.
Or if the person is not from there, we'll be able to see, did anyone see him? Did you see someone suspicious? Were there any cars? Are there cameras in the parking lot of the trail? You hope if it's a state or a government property that they have some semblance of surveillance that tracks who comes in and who goes out. And again, to piece the puzzle together.
And Christine, the bodies of these two young girls were not found actually on the trail. They were found off the trail, actually on private property, but close to a shoreline. So cars couldn't get anywhere near where those bodies were found.
So it could be that, you know, you're doing that so you're hoping no one does find them, that there's more decomposition to the bodies, less evidence found. You know, you don't know what these murderers are thinking at the time that they are committing these horrible acts.
Well, we hope that they are close to finding who murdered these two young girls. Police do say that a man in Washington State, wanted his wife, and listen to this, their 4-year-old daughter dead. But investigators say he made one huge mistake. You see, he texted the wrong person. Jurors say this Texas doctor, in another story, he's guilty of maiming 4 patients, and he's killing at least 2. Why they say he had no problem convicting him of intentionally hurting people he was supposed to help.
I accept I don't race down the slopes like I used to. I even accept I have a higher risk of stroke due to AFib, a type of irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. But whatever trail I take, I go for my best. So if there's something better than warfarin, I'll go for that too.
For great skin, you don't have
to recite the text of 2 teenagers tonight. This is Good evening. I'm Jean Casares in for Ashley Banfield. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is Primetime Justice. Breaking news tonight as investigators are digging everywhere for clues in the shocking double murder of 2 teenage girls in Delphi, Indiana. We do have information to report the state police are serving a search warrant at a home in Delphi. Now, this is in response to information that police received through tips and through interviews giving probable cause to search the home. No word on whether there have been any arrests at this hour. Also, and tonight, a community is mourning the 13-year-old Abigail Williams and her friend, 14-year-old Liberty German. As we have been reporting in this developing story, the girls were believed to be hiking in the woods on Monday when they vanished. The girls were not picked up at an appointed time. They just weren't there. But their bodies were found the next day and identified yesterday. With a killer on the loose, many residents are on high alert tonight.
You can't take your eyes off of them for a minute because there are predators out there, and that's the reality of life.
Most of people are scared and worried about their kids and their grandkids.
And if they're not scared, there's something wrong.
And police are still looking for this man in this picture to ask what he may have seen. Now, in this photo, he appears to be on a high bridge. It is believed to be the same bridge where Liberty took this photo of Abigail and posted it to Snapchat. It is the last trace of the girls before they were found murdered. And joining me tonight, first of all, defense attorney Keisha Hebben and Joey Jackson. But first of all, and we are going to go to Sergeant Kim Riley in just a minute. He is with the Indiana State Police. But we do want to begin tonight with Lindsay Eaton. She is a reporter for CBS 4, Fox 59 in Indianapolis. Lindsay, you are at the scene tonight. Tell us what you have seen with executing of this search warrant at a home.
Correct. We've been out here for about an hour. State police did serve a search warrant at this home. Within the past hour, some of the authorities have left. There is still quite a large presence of authorities out here. We have seen detectives bringing out some boxes from this home. There's a field next door to this home. We saw detectives with flashlights looking through the field. At this point, the latest we have heard, no arrests have been made. And Sergeant Riley actually just told us about an hour ago that they don't anticipate any arrests to be made, that this was part of following up on a tip that they received. And he said this is just another piece of the puzzle. They're following up on each and every tip.
Lindsay, I want some more detail here. How many boxes have you seen authorities take out tonight? Have they taken anything other than boxes? Any carpeting, any mattresses, anything?
We have not. We have not. We saw maybe just a couple. Like I said, we got here around 7 o'clock. We saw maybe a couple boxes taken from the home. I can tell you there was no crime tape around the house. There are a few authorities still out here. They were searching the field next door. We saw them going around the house, up in and out of the front door, and that's about it at this point.
Have you seen anyone come out of the house, anyone that appears to live in that house?
We have not.
Have you talked to anybody in the neighborhood of who might live in that house?
We just got here about an hour ago, and to tell you the truth, there aren't many neighbors out here. As you guys have reported, this is a very rural area out here. Not too many neighbors from where I am standing here right now.
All right, and joining us tonight is Sergeant Kim Riley. He is with the Indiana State Police. Thank you so much for joining us at such a pivotal time in this investigation. Sir, I do want to ask you, the search warrant that is being executed right now, first of all, you did have a warrant. It's not just based on probable cause.
It was a search warrant, yes.
Okay, so you went to a judge, and a judge signed off on this warrant. Why did you select this home in Delphi?
Through the investigation with the tips and the interviews we had probable cause to go into the house and do a search on it.
Okay, that sounds fairly significant. You know, I want to talk to you about the picture that has been circulating of a man that you want to talk with. And I think we do have that photograph. This is the area. You say that it was possibly even the same bridge that the two girls were walking on. This is the walking trail, the Delphi Historic Trail, and this is the Mononhigh Bridge, you believe. Have you been able to locate this man to talk with him yet?
Not as yet. We're still in the process of trying to get some tips and information on who the subject is.
Okay, do you believe that he lives in Delphi, which is about 60 miles northwest of Indianapolis?
We're not sure where the subject may be from or where he lives, but that's why we put this information out, so we can try to get him tracked down, so we can talk to him and just find out what he has seen or has saw on the bridge when he was in that area about the same time as the girls were.
All right, and Sergeant, about the time the girls were, which leads me to the timeline. These two young girls, they did not have school that day. So we know that. Is it true that you believe a relative dropped them off to just have a day for them to be on the walking trail?
Right. One of the family members of one of the girls dropped them off at one of the tributaries, so to speak, of the trail. And then they were supposed to be picked up between 3 and 3:30 that afternoon.
3 and 3:30, so they weren't going to be there too long. So it was about 1 o'clock that they were dropped off, do you believe?
I believe it was right around 1 o'clock, and then they were supposed to be picked up by another relative at between 3 and 3:30.
Now, the photograph that is the Snapchat photo that is tragically taken by one of the girls, there it is right there, of her friend. This was taken at approximately what time? What is the time stamp on the photo?
Well, because it's at Snapchat, there is no timestamp on it, so we're not sure the exact time. We know it was after the time that they were let off, but the exact time we do not have that.
Now, there's a lot of things going on social media that nestled in the foliage there may be a human being that is lurking. Have your forensic investigators looked at that photograph to determine if there is someone amongst the branches behind her?
We have looked at it. We've blown it up. Matter of fact, that was done right after we got the picture. We got access to the picture. And if you look at the far end of the tracks, it looks like there's two people actually standing there. Well, if you blow the picture up, you'll notice that there's actually 3 poles there to keep cars from trying to drive across the bridge. So that's the marks that you see at the end of the tracks. And the part where you see the trees, we have blown that up, and we have not been able to significantly say that that's a person. Matter of fact, we pretty much come to the conclusion that it's just a shadow is all that is.
All right. Now, the tragic thing is that this photograph right here was taken possibly minutes before, and I don't think you have the timeline of when they were murdered, but their bodies were found. Can you describe for us where their bodies were found? Because it wasn't exactly on the trail, right?
No, it was not. It was actually on private property that was in probably about a quarter of a mile from the location where that end of that bridge is at. Actually, that bridge is not even part of the trail at this time. They're in the process of trying to get money to make that part of the trail, but that actually, if you notice where the two poles are at that I pointed out in that picture, that is actually the end of the trail. That's where, and then kids and people just go ahead and walk on across that bridge on their own, at their own risk.
Now, the private property where these two beautiful young girls were found, was there a home on that property?
There is a home on the property. It is about, I'm going to say, probably a half to three-quarter of a mile away from that location, but it's more to the north of the location of where the bodies were found.
Now, I know the crime scene processing took quite a while, a long time. Why did it take so long?
We wanted to basically turn every leaf over that was in that area. It was in a wooded area. We just decided we wanted to make sure that we covered everything, that we looked at everything, and like I said, that no leaf was not left unturned. And plus, we wanted to make sure and get the pictures and get the information off the bodies as far as DNA and anything else that we could find. We just wanted to make sure that that was all done and done correctly and done properly.
That's right, and is one of the most important parts of this investigation. Sergeant, please don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break, but I've got many more questions because you have to solve a double murder, and we want to do what we can to help you. Now, we're not done here. There is a manhunt for the killer of two Indiana teens, and now police say tips are turning into big leads as they serve a search warrant at a home in Delphi. This happened minutes ago. Our breaking news coverage continues.
Primetime Justice with Ashley Banfield is brought to you by Nexium 24-hour tablets.
What could they be looking for, and
one powerful team. Firm skin visibly reduces wrinkles. Fight signs of aging fast. New Revitalift Skin Revitalizer from L'Oreal Paris.
And we do continue to follow breaking news tonight. A manhunt for the killer of two teenage girls in Indiana. Their bodies found near a creek less than a mile from an abandoned railroad bridge where the picture of one of the girls was taken. Tonight, police descending on a home, serving a search warrant connected to the case. What could they be looking for, and why do they still want to talk to this man, who they say was spotted on the bridge around the same time that the girls were walking? That's next.
There are over 47 million Ford vehicles out here. That has everything to do with the people in here. They're
tips and interviews, this as the investigation.
Mr. Ruta Plumbing. Sink, shower and toilet emergency drain services.
Hill Harper, How It Really Happened. Tomorrow at 9 on HLN.
And we do have breaking news tonight. Detectives, they are desperately searching for a breakthrough in the double homicide of Indiana teens Liberty German and Abigail Williams. We are getting the latest from the Indiana State Police, including news on the search of a home in Delphi. It was prompted by tips and interviews. This as the investigation into the killings heats up.
The search is on for a killer in the small city of Delphi.
Oh, everybody's upset.
Abigail Williams and Liberty German disappeared after hiking near the Monon Trail Bridge. 24 hours later, a search crew volunteer found the teens' bodies.
Double homicide investigation.
It's a grainy picture of a man seen on the Delphi Historic Trails Monday, the same day the girls disappeared.
We have nobody in custody at this time. And yes, there is somebody out there that did this horrendous crime.
We're going to get to the bottom of this. We feel confident.
And my panel is back with me. We also have from the Indiana State Police Sergeant Kim Riley, who is joining us. Sergeant, thank you so much. We do know that a picture, and it may have been minutes before these girls were murdered, but Abigail Williams, a Snapchat photo of Abigail Williams is there on the trail, which was a railroad line. Did you find that picture on one of the girls' cell phones?
I really can't answer that question at this point in time. We're in the investigation.
All right. I know Snapchat is something that, you know, people who subscribe can get it, but their phones, their iPhones, did they have phones with them? Obviously one did. They took the picture.
Well, I can't answer that question either at this time because of the investigation that's going on.
I do understand, definitely. The picture of the person that you want to talk to, because we've got two pictures in this case. This person, this man, unidentified. I'm just wondering, is there a security camera out there that took this picture? Was it a hunter's camera? Was it a wildlife camera?
At this point in time, I can't comment on that either. I'm sorry. We don't want to compromise the investigation at this time.
Do you have any more surveillance video or photos at all that you are looking at? Because since there was a home in the area, the two girls were found on the property, there could have been a camera. Any other visual images?
We're still looking into that. Information is still out there that we're looking into cameras and stuff that were on private property that was on residences in the area, but none actually on the trail itself.
So the two young girls were found together. Does it appear that one may have witnessed the murder of the other? Are you looking for just one person?
I really can't comment on that at this point in time.
Were they clothed?
I definitely can't comment on that. We don't want to compromise the investigation.
I understand. Was the cause of death obvious?
I'm not going to comment on that either at this time. We don't want to give any information out that somebody, when you get people start reading information and they come in and start saying that this and that they were involved in the case because they know what happened. We don't want that kind of information coming forward, so we're going to keep that quiet.
I understand. You know, I do want to go to our attorneys, Keisha Hebben, Joey Jackson. Keisha, this is an important part because this is the investigation. There is someone out there that's a killer.
Right. And until they find enough probable cause, they cannot make an arrest. And obviously they're looking for evidence of someone who was involved or how these girls were murdered. And until they find that, there's no arrest that can be made. There's actually no probable cause, and that's necessary here.
But Joey, the cause of death, why can't some of this be released at this point?
You know, it's important, and I understand what the sergeant's doing to protect the integrity of the investigation so someone doesn't come and give false information that they only would have known had they been there, but they heard it on the show. But listen, you know what, Gene? I'm encouraged by the police work here for a number of reasons. Number one, a judge doesn't sign a warrant for probable cause to search a home unless there's specific information in there such that the judge is satisfied that that home is identifiable to what occurred on the scene. Number two, I think forensics in this case is significantly important, and because, I hate to say it, but the bodies were recovered so close in time, you don't have that deterioration issue. And so you'll find blood, and you'll be able to test it. Any hair fibers, you'll be able to test that. Anything else that would be of significance, even saliva, you can test. And so because of the forensics involved, and the distance and the proximity of time to when the bodies are found, I think it's very important. The final thing, of course, are eyewitnesses, but when when you're in the woods, I mean, you know, there's limitations on how many people would have seen it, which goes back to your issues and questions, Gene, in terms of the surveillance, the cameras, and what other information is out there with these images.
Sergeant, let me ask you about the autopsy reports. I know they were completed yesterday. I know they were extensive, 2 autopsy reports. When will those reports be concluded and finished?
I really can't tell you that. I know we're still waiting on like the toxicology reports, all the evidence that was taken off the bodies. That'll all have to be analyzed. So it could take. Of course, we are putting a rush on everything, but it still could take weeks before all that information comes back.
Now, I do know toxicology can take some time, but I also know in a case like this that DNA can be put on an expedited process. Do you believe foreign DNA was found on these girls?
I can't comment on that at this time.
All right, all right. This is a very basic question, but did they have their shoes on? Were they as they were walking on that trail?
I'm sorry, but I can't make a comment on that either.
All right. One last question. This community has never had a double homicide, Sergeant, from what I understand. And it has been years that Delphi, a community of 3,000, has even had a murder. What do you say to this community tonight? Because a shooter is on the loose, a killer, a double murderer.
Well, we tell people, like we've been telling since this has all started, you need to be safe out there. We are working 24/7 to try to solve this horrendous crime. We are looking diligently for this person or persons that done this crime. But we also want people to realize, you know, this is a small town community. People are very close. They know each other. They go to school together. Even though we got 2 high schools in this county of about 20,000 people, you know, a lot of people work at the same places, so these people all know one another, and they look for each other for strength and comfort, and they look to each other for that helpful sign that they need to keep going every day, especially after such a tragic event.
Sergeant, one last question before we go. Our producers estimated approximately 30 sex offenders in a 10-mile radius of Delphi. Are you looking into that area?
Yes, we are. We're looking at every angle. We're looking at social media. We're looking at sex offenders. We're looking every direction we can to try to come up with some information on trying to catch these people that did this.
All right, Sergeant Kim Riley, thank you so much for joining us. We will keep on this case. A teenager is charged with shooting and killing his mother's boyfriend. Now investigators are trying to determine if Paul Gregg's shooting was self-defense. On Snap, police now say the is in for Ashley Banfield. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jean Casares in for Ashley Banfield. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Primetime Justice. We are following breaking news in the murders of 2 teenage girls in Indiana. Police now say the man captured on camera walking on a trail near Delphi is a suspect in the deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Now get a good look at him. Abigail and Liberty were last seen 1 week ago today. They were going for a hike near the Monon High Bridge. Liberty posted this picture on Snapchat of Abigail on a railroad bridge not long after getting dropped off. Well, that post, that is the last time that either girl was seen alive. Liberty's grandfather says the community's support has gotten them through the tough time.
The outpouring support from our family, friends, neighbors, local community across the state, the nation, and even across other continents is unlike anything we've ever observed. With all the kind words shared with my family, we have yet to find the one statement that will take this horrible pain away. Thank you again for your thoughts and prayers. May Liberty and Abigail rest in peace.
And Lindsay Eaton is a reporter for CBS 4 and Fox 59. She joins me now from Delphi, Indiana. Lindsay, what's the latest?
The latest right now, we've been showing that grainy picture of that man who was captured on camera near the Delphi historic trails. And for the past week or so, we've been saying that police want to talk to this man. He was captured on camera around the same time as the girls. And now we can say that this man is a suspect. We finally can say that after saying, hey, police want to talk to this man, see what he may have heard or seen at that time. And now we are finally able to call that man a suspect.
You know, what are you hearing, Lindsay, about why suddenly this person that they just want to talk with is now a suspect?
Police aren't really going into detail. We asked them that earlier today. Was there one big break? Was there something they heard or some type of evidence that now labeled this person, this guy, as a suspect? And they are not going into detail on that, just saying at this point they are now able to label him as a suspect officially.
You know, Lindsay, now on a personal note, it was 1 week ago today, these two young girls, 13 and 14, they didn't have school last Monday, so they went just for a couple of hours on the walking trail. That was it. Relative dropped them off. They were going to be picked up. Yesterday was their funerals, right, Lindsay?
Yes, yesterday was their funerals. Saturday was their visitation. After their visitation, the community set off lanterns in their memory. I know they were supposed to let those lanterns off, I think, around 8 o'clock, and there were so many people that came out to that visitation. I think they had to delay releasing those lanterns 2 or 3 hours later. I can tell you we drive around town and we see signs thanking the community for their support. There's ribbons all over town in memory of these girls. We were just at a restaurant earlier today that's trying to raise money to help fund a reward to hopefully catch this killer. I think the vibe you're just getting in this small community is they're ready for some closure. They're ready to catch.
And you know, this community of 300, Lindsay, you know, they've never had a double murder. And a murder was years ago. And I just can't imagine the way they are banding together. Joining us tonight is the sheriff from Carroll County, Sheriff Tobe Lesenby. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know that you are in the midst of this criminal investigation, but I want everybody to look at this picture of who you are now saying is the main suspect. That's the word we're getting. This person right here, that you want anybody who knows who this is, has seen this person, to come forward to your office. And I really want to look at the pictures carefully. What identifying features can you tell our audience that you see on this man that can help alert someone that they're seeing him as they go about their daily life?
I think, Gene, the main thing is the clothing. If they recognize the clothing of this individual, particularly those possibly connected with this individual, if they recognize it. Just anything outward appearance-wise that may give someone an idea as to who it is, and maybe it possibly being a relative.
Do you see something on the right hand, his right-hand side, where his hand is? Is that his shirt coming down under the jacket, or is that something like a fanny pack right there?
That is something that's still being evaluated in the investigation, Gene.
Okay, one other question, because I've really been looking at these photos. The photo where his left leg is out, see that? Do you see something that looks flat on his upper front thigh? Not that photo, the other photo, but it looks like a board or something inside. Can you discern anything at all? Right there. It just looks very strange. His left leg on the left-hand side of your screen right there. Chief? Sheriff?
Yeah, again, that's, again, still being evaluated and being looked at thoroughly, and is still part of the investigation.
So, Sheriff, do you know anything about him at all? Anything? Do you know his name?
I cannot comment on that because of the ongoing investigation.
Do you believe he's still around town? Do you believe he's in Delphi? Do you believe he's far away from Delphi at this point?
Based on the tips and leads that we're following into, I really can't comment either way. We're following up on multiple leads. Yes, it is possible this individual may still be in our area, but again, we're still checking into that.
Do you have any identification of a vehicle at all that you think he was driving that people should be alerted on?
We are looking into various, again, tips and leads and reports of vehicles that may have been there. In fact, we're still inviting anyone to come forward that may have seen any vehicles in that area during that time period to share that with us and contact our hotline.
Now, this photo right here, this is the bridge, right? Am I correct? This is the Monon High Bridge? Okay, the photograph of the man who is the main suspect now. He's walking on what is the bridge?
Correct.
And is that close to the entrance? Is that close to where Lindsay and Liberty and Abigail would have walked as they were walking toward the trail?
They had been obviously on that bridge, so that would be the area, yes.
What time do you think that picture was taken of him?
Honestly, don't know at this stage.
Then how do you know that he was there around the time that they were there?
Again, based on information as part of the ongoing investigation at this stage.
Now, a relative dropped them off, these two young girls, for a couple of hours to just walk on the trail. Have you spoken to that relative?
Yes.
So I would think that would be a pivotal witness right there as far as cars in the area, seeing anyone. Did anybody else see this person on that bridge, or is it just that photograph?
Again, we're following into the many leads that we have, and you know, without going into kind of great detail, that's something we're looking into.
All right, joining me now, Jonna Spilbor and Danny Savalos, both great defense attorneys. Danny, you know, they're holding so much as part of the investigation. I understand that they have to. They've got a double murderer on the loose, right?
They do.
At least one, which is something else I do want to ask the sheriff in a second. But in regard to the relative that dropped them off, this is an important witness, because if that was where the entry was to the trail.
It's definitely, it's one of the few knowns in this case. You know the relative who dropped them off, and that person hopefully can provide the where. And even if they don't know the exact time, remember, our cell phones are constantly pinging off towers here and there, so that may supply some information about her whereabouts, when they were dropped off. And, you know, there are other things that I know the chief here can't tell us about, but you can sort of glean some other facts. And probably there were no other individuals caught on camera in that particular area. And if they were, then they somehow must have been ruled out at this point. There must be several reasons that we don't know about why law enforcement is focusing on this individual at this time. I mean, and it is, as you know, a strategy to not reveal too much information lest the suspect figure out what they're up to.
Of course. You know, Jonna, they executed a search warrant Thursday night, right before the show started, at a home in Delphi. They were looking at the grass area around the home. They say nothing of evidentiary value came from that. But to search the grass surrounding the home shows they believe there were things missing from the crime scene, right?
Perhaps. Or were they searching for a particular footprint that was going to match a footprint near the scene? Because you touched on something I think is crucial, and that is, how did the picture of this, quote, suspect come about? Is there surveillance? Did somebody take the picture and say, I think this is the guy who did it, and send it to the police? How was it that the police targeted this individual when you have to expect that a trail like that was going to be very populated? Or two teenagers don't go to a remote, desolate trail, right? It had to be very popular in the area. So other people had to be around. Why was it this guy, and where did that picture come from?
You know, John, it's a great question, Sheriff. We had asked before, how was this picture even gotten? I mean, a surveillance camera, a game camera, agriculture camera. How did you get that shot?
Again, without providing information as it relates to the ongoing investigation. I really can't comment on that.
Will you comment on this? It's very pixelated. You can't really have definition in that picture. Does that mean it was taken a long way in the distance?
Again, I'm sorry, I can't comment.
All right. Over the weekend, when you declared that this man right here is a suspect, you also, I found very interesting the wordage that you used, that you believe he participated in the murders of Liberty and Abigail. Participated. That tells me you believe there may be more than one person.
That is something, an angle that is obviously we're covering all bases in a serious case like this. So that is a potential option, but again, it's part of the ongoing investigation.
All right, Danny, I've got to ask you, participated. We believe he participated in the murder. You are participating in the panel discussion tonight.
Right. It's a interesting use of language. It could just be they're keeping their options open, and I know the sheriff isn't going to say one way or the other. They're keeping their options open, or you're absolutely right. It could be a deliberate choice of language, meaning that they suspect, based on the facts available to them, that there may be somebody else out there responsible, and they may know more than they're telling.
And you've got two victims that were murdered. All right, we are continuing to follow the latest in the murders of Liberty and Abigail. Just ahead, we're going to talk to the man who owns the property where the bodies of the teenagers were found, plus the family of a toddler allegedly hurt while in a
your home being your sanctuary.
Just helped you dodge a bullet. But I was just checking that. Shh. Don't you know that checking your credit score lowers it? Just be cool. Actually, checking your credit score with Credit Karma doesn't affect it at all. Are you sure? Positive. Huh, so I guess I could just check my credit score then. Oh.
Check out Credit Karma today. Credit Karma. Give yourself some credit.
Sorry about that.
Police now say the man in this picture is the prime suspect of the murders of two teenagers in Indiana. The girls' bodies were found near a creek less than a mile from an abandoned railroad bridge where they'd been dropped off to go hiking. The man who owns the property says he never thought his 40-acre land would ever become a crime scene.
Your home being your sanctuary is, I don't feel that way about it anymore. It's very concerning. Something happening here like this in my backyard, it is just, I just can't get my emotions around it. It's crazy. It's unreal.
Ron Logan joins me live next.
Sick, huh?
I'm good. I just took new Mucinex Clear&Cool.
What is this?
Resources and the schedule.
Delphi. A manhunt tonight for the man seen in this picture. Police say this is suspect number one in the murders of two teenagers near Delphi, Indiana. Officers tell us they have received tips from across the country about the girls' murders, but so far they have been extremely tight-lipped about the investigation. Liberty German and Abigail Williams were found last Tuesday near a creek less than a mile away from where they'd been dropped off to go hiking. And joining me right now is the gentleman that owns the property where Liberty German and Abigail Williams were found. Ronald Logan joins us by phone. Thank you so much, sir. And I'm so sorry that you've been thrust into this.
I am too. It's been very traumatic.
Well, I'm sure it has.
By this.
I'm sure it has, because I heard you say, you know, this was your land. You had nothing to do with this, of course, but this was your land. This was, you know, this was your property. Can I ask you, it was a week ago today that the family members called and said they're missing. We can't find them. They're not there to pick them up. Did you hear about these two girls being missing? Because I believe a week ago tonight the searches began, right?
Yes, that's true. I did not find out about it until after they'd been until after about 6:30 p.m. in the afternoon. People stopped here and asked for permission to go back on my property, and said 2 girls were missing, and that's the first I heard about it. It's been okay.
No, go ahead. What has the last week been like?
Well, it's been very really difficult to understand what all's been going on here. The pain and agony caused by the families and to the families and the community is just beyond belief. But to have all this pain and agony happen in basically my backyard is just, I mean, it's beginning to come home now, because it's really been difficult to understand that 2 little girls lost their life in my backyard. I mean, it's just beyond belief.
So, how did you find out that their bodies were on your property?
It was shortly after they were found. I had been in town, Delphi, and was coming home, and I saw when I went to town, not that they hadn't been found yet. When I came home, they had been, and then I found out that they were not, that they were not alive. It was horrible. I mean, I don't know how you, because I thought, sure, this is going to all end well. And obviously that's
so. Did you go out, since this was your property? You find out that they are there. Did you go out to the crime scene yourself?
The crime scene has been closed off. It was not, my property was not released back to me until late Wednesday. I went to the crime scene Thursday morning to try to get a feeling of it, and it's still difficult to just...
What did you see when you went out there?
There was not much to see other than in the crime scene tape around the area. The area was still very pristine. You couldn't actually tell that there was any such a violent action done.
So you
there.
didn't see any blood? You didn't see a gruesome scene?
Nothing. The area was very, very pristine. There was just nothing there to see. I mean, really.
Was there one crime scene in one location from what you could tell, or 2 separate crime scenes? Because there were 2 victims.
Just one scene. Apparently, I assume that both were found in this area, because that's what I'm pointing at to now is all that was there.
Do you recognize the person in the photograph that law enforcement is saying is the main suspect at this point? Do you recognize this person?
No, I do not. If I had any idea who it was, I would have certainly said so before now. I have no idea.
What are you hearing? Does anybody recognize this person?
I have not heard anyone say they recognize him. It's a total blank right now.
Are people in the community scared that a double murderer is out there somewhere?
Yes, it is a big concern. I used to walk through my woods all the time, daytime, nighttime. Now I'm not sure if that's a good idea now. My son and grandson come up here and play in that woods. Does that mean we can't do that now, or what should we do? It's just...
Well, Mr. Logan, we thank you for coming on the show tonight, and we are doing our part as journalists to help law enforcement so the public can recognize who this person is, that at least they can talk to this person they are calling the suspect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The parents of a toddler say she was severely hurt while allegedly in a babysitter's care. Despite bleeding on the brain and finger-like bruises on his body, there have been no charges. Why the mother and father say that the babysitter could be getting preferential treatment. Plus, a judge rules a dentist is incompetent to stand trial on criminal fraud charges because of dementia. But some parents say that ruling could help keep them from getting justice in an abuse case involving that very same A dangerous buildup of blood on the brain, bleeding in his retinas, as well as bruises like handprints on his back. A panel of child abuse analysts seen walking on the bridge to go hiking. And Abigail. Police in Indiana, they are.
Weekend Express with Lynn Smith. Weekends at 7 on HLN.
Police in Indiana, they are digging through clues, investigating hundreds of tips, and now widening their search for a suspect, all to answer one question. Who killed Liberty German and Abigail Williams? The bodies of the teenagers were found 1 week ago near a creek, less than a mile from where a relative had dropped them off to go hiking. And so far, investigators have kept much of what they do know close to the vest. But they did release this, a picture of a man seen walking on the bridge around the same time the girls disappeared. State police call him the main suspect in the case, and they say that he participated, they believe, in the murders of Abby and Libby. Officers are now saying they have widened the search for the man to outside the county, even outside the state. That information is coming as we learn police are going to hold a news conference tomorrow to release new details about the teens' murders. Lindsay Eaton is a reporter for CBS 4 and Fox 59. She joins me now from Delphi, Indiana. You have been on this case from the beginning, Lindsay. What is going to happen tomorrow?
We're hearing that authorities are going to release new information. What that new information is still is the big question. I'm being told that authorities will be releasing something unlike anything they've provided up until this point. What that is, we still don't know.
All right, this could be huge. And joining us tonight is from the Indiana State Police, the Public Information Officer, Sergeant Tony Slocum is joining us. Sergeant, are you going to participate in the press conference tomorrow?
I will be participating in the press conference tomorrow.
All right. You know, we have covered this story from the beginning. We want to do our part as journalists to help solve this brutal double murder. Is the information that you're going to release, where are you having the press conference?
We're having it at a local church just outside of town of Delphi.
But why the necessity? Because we see the suspect, you call him the main suspect. Why the necessity to hold the press conference?
Well, we want to make sure we update the media on some new facts that we have and some evidence that we want to release and get out into the public, and hopefully we can capture the murderer of Liberty German and Abigail Williams sooner rather than later.
You know, we've been looking at this photograph. We put it on the air every single night across the country. If anyone has seen this person, do you have a height? Do you have a weight? Do you have hair color at all? Any other descriptions about this man that can be disseminated to try to find him?
Well, unfortunately, at this time, we do not have that information, and that's why we are asking for the public's help. We have set up a tip line specifically for this case at 844-459-5786, and maybe information from the public can be the missing puzzle or the missing piece to the puzzle we're trying to solve.
Now, I know you have expanded the search to outside of the state. How are you doing that? Are you posting this photograph at truck stops or areas along the interstate?
Well, the media has been great about putting the photo out in distribution. We've also been using social media sites, whether that's Facebook or Twitter. But again, we're asking for information to be sent to that tip line, to call that tip line, regardless how minute information might be. Again, it might be that missing piece. But again, we're not asking for people just to focus on the Carroll County, Delphi area. Maybe it's someone you kind of recognize from work that maybe called in sick that day. or maybe even a family member who doesn't have an alibi for that time period, but looks like the man in that picture, who we believe is a male white, wearing blue jeans and wearing a blue-colored coat and or jacket.
How important is social media to your investigation? Because we do know that there was a picture, the last picture we believe that was ever taken of Liberty and then also her girlfriend Abigail. They took a picture. That's it right there. So is social media important? Do you think that posting this on Instagram, which, you know, alerts immediately where these girls are, that could have triggered someone to go to the area?
Well, I don't know, but it is a double-edged sword dealing with the social media sites. One, it does provide us a greater reach in putting out information to the public, but it also creates some false information. I know there was a distribution of a sketch that someone had created on their own, which sometimes confuses the public. So, again, we do use the social media sites to get our information out, but, again, we ask people to vet the information that they might be receiving that's not coming directly from law enforcement.
Do you believe that these young girls at all could have been innocently communicating with someone who may have even not led to his real identity to meet that person at this trail for a couple of hours?
Well, anything's possible, but the evidence we have thus far has not revealed that to be true. Unfortunately, these young ladies were just doing what teenage girls do. They were enjoying a beautiful day on a beautiful trail in a beautiful part of Indiana, and these crimes occurred. And we're doing our best. I can rest assured, or let the family know, that there are over 100 officers investigating this case, trying to get the person who killed Libby German or Abigail Williams into custody, again, sooner rather than later.
Now, common sense tells us that this man, who you say the main suspect, his picture is all over television. So there may be a great likelihood that he's watching this tonight, watching himself, knowing that he can't be found. What do you want to say to him?
Well, if that's the case, one would implore you to turn yourself in and hold yourself or be responsible for the crimes that you've committed. But also rest assured, we're coming to look for you, and our goal is to get that person into custody, and we're going to work as hard as we have to get that person into the Carroll County Jail to face charges related to the murders of Libby German and Abigail Williams.
So, Sergeant, it sounds like you believe you have your man. And do you think that he worked alone?
Well, we don't know if he worked alone or not, but this is our prime suspect. We are actively looking for this person. Evidence thus far, the totality of the evidence that investigators have collected has led to this person in the picture that we distributed, and that's why we have identified this person not as just someone we want to talk to, but as a person who is a suspect in a double homicide.
What you're telling me right there is DNA, forensic DNA. But that's difficult because you don't know his identity, but there's something there that correlates with him. Is there a timestamp on that photograph?
Well, we believe the photograph came into our possession, I believe, on Tuesday, a week ago today. But as far as evidence, we're not going to release information that's germane to our investigation. Again, some of the facts related to the case are known only to investigators and to the person and or persons who committed this crime. So I know the public wants more information and the media wants more information, but to protect our investigation and to prevent copycats, some of that information has to be withheld so we can have a successful prosecution when we do make an arrest.
And I do understand that. Joining us tonight also is a friend of the family. The family has stayed so private, but Terry Bradshaw is joining us tonight. And Tracy, I'm sorry, you know both families, and you own the pizza parlor in town that's having a benefit this Friday, but you've known both families for years, right?
I've actually only known Libby's family for probably about 20 years, yes.
All right. What's going on around town? I mean, what are people saying? Does anybody recognize this man? And if not, what do they believe?
I don't think anybody has recognized him, or they probably would have already turned him in. People are scared. You know, it's a small town. You're used to letting your kids go out by themselves with friends and do whatever they want, and people are holding their kids at home and not letting them go out.
Well, I think that's very understandable. It was a crime scene that investigators worked on for a long time. They didn't release the crime scene until quite a bit later. What are they saying in regard to how these two young girls died?
I really don't know. So I don't feel that I can answer that.
Okay, all right. Are there theories going around town, though? Because that's just something that I think probably automatically happens.
I think probably the biggest theory is that it's someone local, because the trail was so far out of town that really only the local people know about it.
That's very interesting. So it is remote.
It is remote.
That's very interesting. Sergeant Tony Slocum with the Illinois State Police. Can you just tell us about the area? How large it is? I know it's abandoned railroad tracks, it's a hiking trail, but how many miles are we talking about?
I'm not exactly sure on how long this trail is. If I had to guess, I would say maybe a mile long, but it's the trail near where these young ladies were murdered is part of a trail system. And it is in a remote area, but the trail itself is also well advertised as a tourist destination in Carroll County, Indiana. So even though the theory, I heard her talking about being a local area person, we're not just staying focused on local, because it's next to a highway system, the Hoosier Heartland, State Road 25, where people can get on quickly and get off quickly. And it's just east of the town of Delphi. So we're expanding our search to include anybody that could have possibly come through the area.
All right. Good words to end with. We will all be watching tomorrow morning for your press conference. Thanks so much. Police say a toddler's death, it was no accident. And now a teen mom and her boyfriend are charged with the little girl's murder. But time, an image of a man last week after going hiking. Good evening, I'm Jean Casares in for Ashley Banfield. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Primetime Justice. We do have breaking news tonight in the murders of two teenagers in Indiana. Liberty German and Abigail Williams went missing last week after going hiking. Their bodies were found the next day. And for the past week, we have been looking at this image, an image of a man officers call the prime suspect in the case. And new tonight, we are hearing for the very first time 3 words muttered by an unknown man in the vicinity of those 2 girls on that day. It's video captured on Libby's phone, and police say it was just moments before the girls were killed. Now, we're going to play this for you multiple times this hour so you can hear it. Take a listen now. Police are hoping that those 3 words, down the hill, will lead them to their killer. But they do say they need everyone's help from coast to coast to listen and decide if you recognize that person's voice.
Why Libby? Why Abby? Why Delphi? Why Carroll County? Why the region? Why the state? Why even in the nation? I say that because this is a classic example and a clear example that evil lives amongst us.
Lindsay Eaton is a reporter for CBS 4, Fox 59. She joins us now from Delphi, Indiana. Lindsay, we learned today many things we hadn't learned before, but we also learned that this has gotten to the desk of the FBI director, Jim Comey. What else did we learn today at this press conference?
We learned that the picture that we've been showing over and over of that main suspect, that man, we learned that that picture came from Libby's cell phone, along with that recording that you guys have been playing and that we've been playing over and over. We know it's 3 words, down the hill. But we learned that that audio snippet, as well as that picture, both big clues, both of them came from Libby's phone, which is huge in this investigation.
It sure is. All the visuals that you see and now this audio came from Liberty's phone. And joining us is Sergeant Tony Slocum. He is with the Indiana State Police. First of all, I want to ask you, the thing that just was going through my mind right now is at this press conference today, you called Liberty, one of these 2 victims, you called her a hero.
I believe Liberty is a hero. To have enough wherewithal at a time when she was probably really afraid to actually record or hit record on the video function of her phone and actually provide us evidence that we are using now to try to solve her murders. That young lady is a hero. To have the presence to be able to do that. Every investigator that I've talked to that's connected to this case believes that she is a hero, and she inspires us to continue forward as we do our investigation.
Now, we want to listen again to this audio. We want everyone to listen to this because everyone from the FBI to local to state police, they are appealing to your help tonight. Do you recognize this voice? Listen. Now, of course, that is a repetition of what we believe is the one time it was on her phone. Sergeant, you actually have the video that accompanies that. Is that not correct? But you're only releasing audio at this point.
Right. We're holding the rest of our evidence close to the vest. Again, we don't want to put that out in the information out into the public spectrum where it would jeopardize our case at this time. But we do have further evidence. Also, as you indicated, not only the voice that you hear, but also the photograph that we released last week, both came from Liberty German's phone. And we're imploring, as you indicated, anyone in the public who hears that voice or sees that photograph and think that might be so-and-so, that sounds like so-and-so, and they don't have an excuse or an alibi or something weird was happening on Monday of last week, we want your information. And we have multiple avenues for that with the tip line and an account through email. And we also have a reward that we're offering for any information that leads to an arrest in this case.
That's right. And earlier today it was $41,000. Now, Sergeant, can you definitively say that the voice we're hearing on the audio recording is of the man in the photograph? Or could it be 2 people?
Right. You're exactly right. We're trying to determine if we have one suspect or multiple suspects. At this time, we're not linking that photograph with that voice. So that voice could possibly be of another suspect. And at this time, we're investigating that. So we are not quite sure if we have one person and or multiple people that we're looking for in the murder of Liberty German and Abigail Williams.
Now, as we know, on the audio that we have just played, and we will play again, it says down the hill. We've had a producer at that scene who has told us that it is very hilly and the hills are off the beaten track. By these 3 words, down the hill, do you believe that the alleged perpetrator knew the area and knew where he wanted these girls to go? Was he directing them?
Well, it sounds like he was directing them, but to answer your first question, as far as him knowing the area, we're not sure. But that obviously is one possibility in this case that we're looking at. Again, we spoke last night about how close to the Hoosier Heartland or State Road 25 interstate type system that this trail is close to. We're still expanding our search and not just to encompass the Carroll County, Delphi area, but also the surrounding areas. So we do not know if he knew the area.
All right. Now, Sergeant, your superior spoke today, Superintendent Douglas Carter of the Indiana State Police. The superintendent, let's listen.
Words tend to escape during these periods of times, and I've only had a couple of other situations in my lifetime I'm able to stand before you and say that. Why Libby? Why Abby? Why Delphi? Why Carroll County? Why the region? Why the state? Why even in the nation? I say that because this is a classic example and a clear example that evil lives amongst us. To the family, to the community, the region, the state, as a leader of the Indiana State Police, I say I am so very sorry. Resources. It's unlikely that any of you will ever see, nor will we ever see or experience again, the level of resources that are attached to this investigation. To the media. My gosh, all I can say is just give you my sincere thanks. See, this isn't like TV. There's a perception that this can be solved very quickly. Anything that we do can be solved very quickly, but this is a testament that it can't, and we need you. We've needed you since last week. We need you today, and we need you tomorrow. And likely, we'll need the media all across this nation. So from a simple guy like me to you, I say thank you. To the people dressed funny like me and those that represent the law enforcement profession, please understand we're human beings just like you. I'd stand anywhere in the nation with people standing behind me. And I would suggest to you that every time something like this happens, a little piece of us dies as well.
You know, Sergeant, we see the emotion that was in all of you at that press conference today, but I think one of the most sobering things that was said was, who will be next? Sergeant, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. That was a sobering statement because, unfortunately, as the Superintendent Carter indicated, evil does live amongst us. But I have a firm belief, and as most people, especially the investigators in this case, that there's more good than evil. And the great works that I've seen the last week of investigators working tirelessly to bring the murderers of Liberty German and Abigail Williams to justice is awe-inspiring. And they believe that there's more good than evil in our society. And I do understand that. I do understand that there are 20 FBI working around the clock right now. But the fact is, someone or people out there murdered 2 young girls, and they could do it again. They've got to be caught. We're going to have more on this in a minute. More news in the murder of 2 Indiana teenage girls. Police releasing audio from Liberty German's phone they hope can lead them to a killer. The FBI, local and state police, they all need your help.
Someone knows who this individual is. Is it a family member? Is it a neighbor? Even with technology, we need human intelligence. In other words, we need you. And if you're watching, we'll find you.
There are over 47 million Ford vehicles out here.
Reveal about the girls' murders next.
As poor as this picture is, somebody knows. And if you're watching, we'll find you.
Police in Indiana talking about this picture of their prime suspect in the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Now they are hoping by releasing this short burst of audio from Libby's phone that someone will recognize the voice and help them catch the killer. What that chilling audio could reveal about the girl's murders next.
Skin's ability to retain more.
Just 3.
Why Libby?
Person. Bad idea, so I'm installing a Baffle T.
Pretty blurry was taken in.
It really happened with Hill Harper, Friday at 9 on HLN.
Evil lives amongst us.
There's an all-out manhunt.
This is the person that at least participated in the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Parents should never, ever have to bury their children.
And the picture that is pretty blurry was taken in this area here. It was cropped from a larger picture.
The audio is also from Liberty's phone.
Why Libby? Why Abby? And if you're watching, we'll find you.
And there is breaking news tonight in the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Today, police released for the very first time audio that they say Libby recorded just moments before the girls were killed. It is just 3 words, but take a listen. We're going to play it for you multiple times. Down the hill. And we did learn today that that audio right there was gotten from Libby German's phone, that she had recorded this man, whoever he is, audio and video. Police are only releasing the audio right now. And that still picture that you see of who they call the prime suspect, who may or may not be that voice, maybe 1 or 2 people involved, that also we learned today definitively was from Libby's phone. Libby, who they are calling a hero tonight. And with us, Sergeant Tony Slocum from the Indiana State Police is joining us once again. I know there is a tip line. We will show that for everyone, Sergeant. And you are asking anyone who knows it, that recognizes someone in that picture or recognizes that voice. Now, you did say at the press conference today that you have more video and more audio than you're releasing. How many minutes in total would you say that you have?
Well, that's information that's germane to our investigation at this time, so we're not going to be able to release that into the public spectrum at this time.
I understand. Is it continuous? Is it stop and start? Could you obviously tell there was an issue?
Well, obviously there was an issue if Liberty turned on the video portion of her phone, and we could tell that maybe there was a problem in that video. But as far as specific and more detail, that's something we cannot get into at this moment in our investigation.
Now, I know that you had also gone in today about whether this was someone that they were intending to meet, or a stranger crime, or someone that knew the girls, but it appeared as though you were leaning upon a chance encounter was unlikely, but that they knew that maybe he knew that those girls would be there.
Well, we're not quite sure if it was a chance encounter or evidence indicates this time that we don't have any leading us to they were meeting someone. We believe it was just 2 teenage girls going out on a nice day and enjoying a beautiful trail. But we're still trying to verify all our facts. We're almost 9 days into our investigation, which seems like a very long time, but in the scheme of things, it's pretty short, and we're still trying to analyze information and determine what actually occurred in their murders.
Seems like a very difficult investigation. Joining me now, Misty Morris and Danny Savalos. Misty, Where do they go from here? Because they don't know this person, they can't find this person. This snip of audio is a little difficult to discern, really?
Yes, but you know what? The power of technology has changed police investigations. There is going to be someone out there who recognizes that voice, who thinks, hey, that person in the photo could be someone I know. And it's shows like these that are going to help bring this murderer to justice.
And let's listen right now to the FBI for the state of Indiana. He today spoke, and listen to what he wants people to be alerted toward. It's very important.
To the members of the community, when I met with our behavioral analysis unit and their expertise and their experience, it is oftentimes even unwitting that a member of the community may have information that is germane to this investigation. And I'd like the community to go back 9 days and go back to the afternoon of February 13th, Monday, February 13th, and just think if you had an interaction with an individual who inexplicably canceled an appointment that you had together, or an individual called into work sick and canceled an important appointment or a social engagement, and at the time gave what would have been a plausible explanation. My cell phone broke, or I had a flat tire on my car. But in retrospect, that excuse no longer holds water. That may be important. Likely so are behavioral indicators that this individual may have exhibited since the afternoon of May 13th. Did this individual travel unexpectedly? Did they change their appearance? Did they shave their beard, cut their hair, change the color of their hair? The superintendent mentioned the clothes that this individual was wearing in the photo. Did they change the way they dress? Did their behavior change? Did their sleep pattern is different now? Did they start abusing drugs or alcohol whereas they would not have? Have they been anxious, nervous, irritable? Have they followed this case and what the media is putting out with a sense that is not normal? Have they had ongoing discussions regarding their whereabouts on that afternoon or thereafter? Please, if you have that information, call that into the tip line.
Ask you, have you gotten tips today? Your press conference was this morning. Are you getting more people that say they may know something?
Speaking with the supervisor of our call center, she said moments after we released the audio that all 10 of the lines that we have coming in our command center lit up, and they continue to light up throughout the day. So people are providing us with information, and that is much appreciated.
All right. Well, we thank you for coming on. We will stay on this case. And once again, we want everybody to know it is not just confined to Indiana at this point. Delphi is close to a highway, and they believe this person or persons could be anywhere in this country. A Texas man now charged with shooting his female neighbor says he felt threatened by the woman, her dog, and a roll of tape. Today, Hector Campos broke his silence.
Listen carefully to that voice. And about as the authorities have increased for this officer, hold that thought.
I couldn't do it. He couldn't do it.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave it there, but we're going to watch the story. Obviously, the investigation continues. And as we heard from the sergeant, there still could be charges. We don't know. For this officer, hold that thought. The search for the killer or killers of Indiana teenagers Abigail Williams and Liberty German, who were on a hike in a wooded area, is really growing more intense tonight because the authorities have increased the reward for information leading to an arrest to $50,000. So far, state police have received about 4,000 tips, and about half of them came in after police released that haunting audio from Liberty's cell phone. The voice, very possibly belonging to the primary suspect, captured in this haunting picture. Listen carefully to that voice. Volunteers ended up finding the bodies of these two girls, 14-year-old Liberty, 13-year-old Abigail, on Valentine's Day after family members reported them missing. When will people realize that cameras are everywhere? And what officers saw while trying to catch people illegally dumping garbage simply made their stomachs turn. They say this man beat his girlfriend's son dozens upon dozens of times with a belt. That little boy just 7. Plus, a coach's job